gentlemen, it gives me very great pleasure to welcome our chairman of the fundraising operation, this appeal, which has been launched tonight. So please give a warm welcome to Dr. Barry Smith.
David, thank you. Lord Stafford has had to go. He has other commitments this evening, but we're very grateful that he could be here to meet everybody. Worshipful Mayor, Rob, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you so much for coming this evening to find out what this Bell appeal is all about. I have to admit that I'm a newcomer to Stone. I've only been living in the town for 3 years, and I know some of you here are natives of the town, and others have been here a lot longer than I have. Something that struck me as soon as I came to Stone was the real sense of community. This town has a small, friendly feel to it, and this is despite the amount of redevelopment and extra building that has quite clearly gone on the outskirts of the place. But despite that, it still retains, I think you'll all agree, that wonderful small town feeling to it. I've always thought that one of the great things about England was the sound of church bells ringing out over town and countryside. And I'm by birth and education, I'm a Brummie. But even living in a big city like that, I remember thinking what a wonderful sound church bells were ringing out. And I was really glad to hear the sound of those bells when I started to get out and about around Stone. And I think you'll all agree that sound of bells is part of what contributes to the sense of the town being such a special place and having such a wonderful feeling of togetherness and community. Something else that I began to realise as I got out and about in Stone is the sense of history that the town has. It goes back a long way, and a big part of the history of the town is centred around the church of St Michael and St Wolfhans, standing as it does on the site of the priory. And then I found that when Helen and I began to be associated and started to attend the church, I found that the sound of the bells that I had liked so much around the town were coming from the tower of that church. One other thing that I have to admit is that until I got involved with this, I knew absolutely nothing about church bells, apart from the fact that I liked the sound of them. But I soon got to know that periodically bells have to be retuned. And the bells in the church tower are so old, and they've been retuned so often, that they have essentially, or they are essentially coming to the end of their lifespan. And they've got to the point where they really can't be retuned any more than they have been. And on top of that, I discovered that the wooden frame from which the bells hang and from which they are rung is also so old that it's beginning to crack and it moves when the bells are rung. So even the frame from which the bells hang is coming to the end of its life as well. And the more I heard about this, the more I began to learn that unless something was done about that problem, then Stone ran the risk of losing the sound of the bells ringing out over the town. And you think I'd know better by my age, but when David said to me, would I like to help in the appeal that they were going to start for raising the money for these bells, I said yes, of course I would. The sound of the bells mean an awful lot to me. I think they're an essential part of the town, an essential part of English way of life. Yes, of course I would like to help. What can I do? And he said, you can be the chairman of the appeal. So here I am, as I say, at that point knowing very little about bells. I've had a very steep learning curve. I know slightly more than very little now. But what I do know is that we can't afford to let the sound of bells be lost from the town. And I think that is the important message that we need to get across to the people of Stone, that they can't afford. They may not know it, they may not realise it, but they can't afford to lose the sound of the bells from their town, because once they've gone, I think if they're lost, once they're gone, that will be an end to, and something very special will have gone from the town. And we can't, ladies and gentlemen, afford to let that happen. So here we are at the beginning of what is likely to be a reasonably lengthy process, given the current financial crisis, and the call on everybody's pockets from good causes. Everywhere we look, there's a good cause to give our money to. But we have to persuade people that ours is the good cause, or certainly one of the good causes, to which they should donate their hard-earned money. We anticipate, we are thinking that we need to raise between 130 and 140,000 pounds, and we anticipate that this is likely to take us about 2 or 3 days. This is the start of the road. We will keep everybody informed as we go along as to how we're doing, and how you're doing, and how the town's doing. And now I'd like to, the next item will be a video. No, video. You can tell all I am, can't you? I said that at home the other day, and I got 3 blank stares from Tina. Oh, what? It's a DVD, of course, isn't it? So I'll move on from that. It's a DVD. A DVD